G'day guys, Wes York here for York Talk. We're on episode 1, we're talking about everything sales and business. Before we get started though, I just want to congratulate all my clients, because every single week we get messages from our clients saying, what can you do on a weekly basis for our teams? What can you provide us with? So from Sales Coaching International, we sat down as our group and we designed the York Talk show, Everything Sales and Business. So we wanted to come to our clients on a weekly basis with up-to-date, issues and concerns in the marketplace and in the environment. We're going to talk everything when it comes to sales and how to increase your sales revenues, your profits, etc. So at the end of the day, I want to thank the clients for really pushing us as an organisation for this to come today. A few other people I want to thank, because this is coming to you every Tuesday. So a lot of work was done in the background. So I want to thank my entire team here at Sales Coaching International. I'd love to thank the production crew who's behind these cameras you can't see. So if you hear some noises, that's just the production crew banging around in the back there. My GM Kaz, and most importantly, I want to thank every single person who's watching this and stays tuned every Tuesday for the message that we bring on the weekly basis. We're going to love your comments and your likes as we go through on Facebook. This will also get uploaded to YouTube. It'll hit iTunes as well. And this will happen on a weekly basis. So if you've got clients of clients, or if you want to go back and re-watch certain episodes, it's always going to be there for you. So what is York Talk? Why is it come? What are we going to be talking about every single day? But first of all, who's it for? So this was designed initially for all our clients, but then we sort of thought, okay, let's see how broad we can take this. So this is designed for all business owners, whether it's small, medium, large, sales agents, sales managers, anyone in direct sales, anyone who's in network marketing, and I love network marketers, and pretty much anyone who just wants to be better and get ahead of where they are today. So York Talk, every single Tuesday, 1 o'clock where we are today, we will be coming. It's going to go 15, 20 minutes depending on the certain topics and relevance that we're having every single day. So what's today's all about? So today's episode, we thought let's kick it off with episode 1, which is we're going to talk about why are people successful and other people aren't successful. Why do certain people absolutely smash it out of the park, yet other people don't? You know what? So I'm going to throw some stats out here to me which are really concerning, which is going to sort of wrap around the entire episode here, because of the fact that, are we sideways here, are we, production crew? We're good now? Nah, we're sideways. Cut this off 2 seconds and we'll be back. All right, here we go. Let's see how this production crew is going. You know what? You got to love first episodes, because, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So you know what? Hopefully we're back. Hopefully I'm not upside down here, but we're just checking this in the back before we get too much into this episode. And you know what? I love this sort of technology. We're good, or are we upside down? We're upside down. All right, just flick it around, and production crew can sort this out later. And here we go. We should be right. But let's see if I can see the mine here as well. And you know what? This is what we love about technology, because you know what? At the end of the day, anything happens, but you know what? You run with it, you flow with it, because every single week, this is what happens, and this is what happens in business, and this is what happens when every time, you make mistakes. You know what happens when you make that call and sometimes it just doesn't go right? You just got to run with it. You got to flow with it. And this happens every single day in every single business on every single sales call. But guess what? If you can't just flow with it, then guess what? We've got to go back and do some training. So as my production crew keep working here, it's okay, because I'm going to move on. So we're talking today about why do some people smash success out? Why do some people just sometimes not hit the mark? And why is it sometimes, you try your work, but not every single time it really comes off? Because here's what it is, and this is some stats I'm going to quickly share with every single person. And to me, it's really daunting, and it doesn't matter whether you're in Australia, it doesn't matter whether you're overseas. These stats are pretty consistent around the world. The average Australian, this is done by Suncorp, the average Australian can save a touch over $100 per week. Now, if you actually sat back 5 years ago in your life and you looked at, maybe 10 years ago in your life, and you thought that 1 in 5 Australians couldn't save more, only a touch over $100 a week, what would you think, and what would you sort of talk about? You know what? The thing is now, 20 5-year-olds to 34-year-olds can actually save a little bit more. They can actually save a touch over $130 per week. But my question is, why is that the case? Because previously that wasn't the case. And you know what? Interest rates are the lowest they've been. You know what? Interest rates are history's lowest. But how come people can only save a certain amount? You know, if you look at these stats by BT Financial, 1 in 5 Australians couldn't find between $500 and $1,000 if an emergency took place. Can you believe that 1 in 5 Australians couldn't find between $500 and $1,000 if an emergency took place? And 1 in 8 Australians have less than $100 in their bank account. So I looked at these stats and thought to myself, you know what? Let's do the first episode on this, because you know what? Everyone wants to be better. Everyone wants to be in a different place. Everyone wants to have more money in the bank and, you know, be more financially successful. But why is it that really makes some people excel and other people not excel? And you know what? When I go around to different organisations and I do, whether it be training on motivation, or I'm doing sales training, or I'm doing marketing training, it comes apparent of why people are successful and why other people aren't. So I'm going to give you why people aren't to start with. The reason why more people aren't successful, and maybe the reason why you aren't as successful as what you would like to be, is because the majority of the time people want it given to them. Now let me explain this a little bit further. The reason why people don't hit their potential is because they're waiting for someone else to give them the answers. You know, you look at the best entrepreneurs in the world, you look at the best business owners and companies in the world, they never had anything given to them. They had to work every single day. You know, I was listening to Gary Vee, only a few weeks ago, and he talks about, you know, when do you become successful? When do you actually hit your successful strap, so to speak? And you know what? It's the hours between, say, 5 p.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning. And you know what? When I've mentioned this in the past, people look at me like I've got 3 heads. And it comes down to, you know what? You may have your daytime job, or you may have your hours of operation where you're employed at the moment. But what do you do outside of those hours to make sure that you are totally successful? And I'll give you some examples here. I was doing a training only a short while ago with a pretty large organisation. We're doing some sales strategies, how to overcome objections, etc. Now, when I looked around the room, you've got to look at cultures within organisations. You've got to look at, you know, different personalities. You've got to see, you know, who takes the train on board, who's going to be listening, who's going to be asking questions, etc. But when I looked around this room, less than 5% of the attendees, and there's a pretty large room, only 5%, it's actually less than 5%, had their notepad and pen. So let me ask you this question. You've got a room where the organisation has said, you know, come in and do some sales strategies because they need to lift their revenues, they need to lift their profits, their sales targets aren't, you know, their quarters aren't being matched from previous quarters. Yet their sales team culture is, we're going to get an expert in, yet we're not going to take notes. If they don't take notes, how are they going to remember it? How are they going to work outside of their working hours to learn, to adopt it, to make sure they implement it, to make sure they get better? And this is why I talk about people want it given to them. You know, people are happy to do the daily hours, do the 7 hours, do the 8 hours of work, but outside of those hours, for them to become truly successful, they don't want to do anything. You know, you go and ask anyone in the street, you know, how you been? Oh, look, I've been really busy. But busy doing what? Busy getting ahead, busy being successful. So when I look around these trainings that I go to, only 1% really take things on board and actually implement them, and then actually let the time allow for it to take place to see their success absolutely hit the roof. So here's the thing. If you want to be number one in your organisation, if you want to have a business and, you know, be the CEO of a business that absolutely excels, the question is, how do you do it? So we look at, you know, let's work outside of the normal hours. Let's make sure we start to adapt and implement strategies which are current to the marketplace. Let's make sure we put the hours in when no one else is working, so therefore we have the knowledge. But the biggest issue in today's society is everyone wants things so fast. Everyone wants to have success yesterday, but they're not willing to work for it. And especially when you look at the younger generation, and yes, I'm talking to you as a younger generation, you want things so fast, but you don't allow the education and the knowledge to actually sink in. You know, you need to be able to go through the numbers to make sure that what you have learnt is correct and adequate for what you are selling, for what business you're in, for what network marketing that you're in. See, when it comes down to it, if you don't sit there and allow the time for that knowledge to creep in, to sink in, for you allowed to go and make mistakes, so therefore you know you're on track, how do you know if you're going to be successful? See, and then what happens is when they go and try something new, and it may not work the first time, because guess what? You couldn't ride a bike the very first time, could you? Then they stop it and they go back to their old ways. So when I do these trainings, I talk about this one training session which we do all the time. How do you become the number one? How do you become the top 1% in your organisation, or if you're owning your own organisation, or you're in the network marketing group, or you just want to excel? How do you become in the top 1%? So to me, it's reasonably easy. And it's not easy in the sense where, it's not that you don't have to do a lot of work, but 99% of the people out there, they talk the talk. They say they want to do it, but they don't take those notes. So how are they going to go back and educate themselves? The top 1% will take the notes, will go back, they'll study them, they'll revisit them, they'll adopt them into their business, into their network marketing group, into their sales process, into their sales management process. They'll allow the time to make sure that it sinks in. So if you want to become the top 1%, all you have to do is talk the talk and walk the walk. No one ever gives you absolutely anything, because if someone's giving you something, guess what? They want something in return, don't they? So you need to make sure that you put the hours in. You research where your market is. You research, where your best clients are. You research, if you're bringing a new product in the market, how to execute it. Where your product lines are going to sit, where your pricing is going to sit, where your promotions are going to sit. You need to go back and do that research, because no one's going to sit there and do it for you. If you're in network marketing and you want to smash out of the park, no one's going to sit there and do it for you. So what is it that you need to do to be successful? Now let's talk about the people who aren't in sales or aren't in business, but they want to get ahead. They want to be better. They want to be doing something that then differently next year to where they are today. It's entirely up to you, and it comes back to the same answer. If you're willing to put yourself out there, if you're willing to make a difference, to educate yourself, to implement it, then you can do absolutely anything you want. What I always say is, first of all, you need to learn how to sell, because every single person in this world is selling something. If you're going to go for a job interview, you need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to negotiate. You need to learn how to ask for the commitment. Because whether you're going for a job promotion, whether you're going to the bank to get money for a new business venture, whether you're networking, everything comes down to a sales process. And until you understand that, and you understand then how to market yourself, you're going to be sitting in the same situation next year going, geez, I wish I did something about it. We did a training with another organisation about 3 weeks ago, and we talked about how many hours in the day, in the week, and how much spare time every single person has. And it's absolutely mind-boggling how many hours that every single person has every day that they could be doing something to improve their situation. And it doesn't have to be from a financial perspective, because success comes in many different ways. Success isn't always down to financial. It could be a career change. It could be a business venture. It could be a joint venture with another organisation. It could be taking where you are today, working for someone, and going out and working for yourself. See, success comes in many different ways. However, you want to make sure you reduce the risk and increase your chance for success. So to be the number one, or be the top 1% in your industry within whatever you do, you need to walk the walk and talk the talk at the same time. So many people will sit there and go, you know what, Wes, this week, this month, this year, I'm going to go and earn $200,000, $250,000. So my next question is, okay, so how are you going to do it? And they don't even understand or know how to answer that second question. See, the person who's sitting on, say, 40 grand a year, maybe wants to move to another area in the organisation. If they're really determined on asking that second question, I guarantee a lot of those people have that answer. Now it's time to get in, roll the sleeves up and do the work. See, when it comes down to being successful, and like I said, success comes in many different formats. One thing we need to understand when we move forward is you're going to make mistakes. You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to get your circle of influence who says, you know what, you can't do it. Sometimes that circle of influence are the people closest to you, and they keep trying to push you back, because in Australia we have that tall poppy syndrome, and I know it's in other parts in the world where everyone wants you to succeed all the way to the middle. They don't want you to get ahead. So as soon as you start to make that, that first step and then that second step, people try and pull you back. So what you need to do with those people is tell them to go and get stuffed. Because at the end of the day, those people have probably pulled you back many times and they've stopped your growth. So you want to be successful. Here's the steps. 1, get off your ass and go and do something about it. There's no good sitting talking to someone, whinging and moaning, saying, geez, I wouldn't mind a new career. I wouldn't mind earning more money. I wouldn't mind going and buying a new house. Geez, I wouldn't mind starting this new business. You know what? There's no point talking to someone about it if they can't help you out. So first of all, we need to get off our ass and actually go and do something about it. The second thing is we need to go and find where the education lies for us to get to where we need to get to. Who's going to give me the knowledge? Who's been and walked through that path? Who's made the mistakes? Who's going to help me transition that period and maybe make it that bit quicker? Maybe help me, those mistakes that I might have made, I might be able to reduce those. So I need to go and find myself a mentor who's walked the same shoes I'm about to go and walk. The third thing is I need to actually go and spend the hours and learn it. I need to sit there and understand my roadmap. I need to understand my sales process, my roadmap, understand the direction that I'm going in. And then the fourth thing, which is really critical, you need to allow the time for it to sink in. Most people, like I said earlier, they don't allow the time to sink in. So therefore, when their success doesn't quite come, they give up and they go back their old ways. And all they say is, it was never going to work anyway. And they make all these bloody excuses under the sun why it wasn't going. The person who said they couldn't do it previously is laughing at them and saying, I told you it wasn't going to work. And all he's done is prove everyone right. When in many cases, that success was just over the hill. We've heard all those success stories where, they've worked so hard, and you know what? They tried that one last time and they hit it. We also hear the other one where, they get to a certain point, they stop, and there was 1 or 2 more efforts away and they would have actually cracked it. So you've got to keep going and persevering because it doesn't come easy. There's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be financial hardships. There's going to be tears for a lot of people. But guess what? It's all going to be worth it in the end because every single time that we have to work hard for something, we appreciate it. We hang on to it and we make sure that we never let it go at the same time. And the last thing we need to do, so the 5th step we need to do is we need to start today. Because guess what? We can't wait till tomorrow. We can't wait till next month. And we can't wait till next year. Because if we wait, what's going to happen? Someone's going to jump in. Someone's going to take your spot. A product's going to come out there. You know what? Let's not wait. Let's start today. Let's put the action in place. Let's get those feet moving. Let's get the mouth moving. Let's get the education happening. And guess what? You'll start to see those little wins come far quicker than what you actually anticipated. So this is the first episode. Like we said, every week we're coming for 15 or so minutes. It's quick to the point sessions to get you moving. So today's was all about making sure we understand why people win and why people don't. And the main reason is the people who win actually get off their ass and go and do something about it. The people who don't just talk the talk saying, look, I'm going to be better, this is what I want, but they actually never put anything into action. So this is Wes York. This is York Talk, everything sales and business. So stay tuned every single Tuesday, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's somewhere in the world. In America, it's probably about sort of 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you're in LA, it could be about 10 o'clock at night. If you're in Miami, if you're in, say, India and Dubai, it's a few hours in the back. Fiji's 3 hours ahead, etc. So this is Wes York. I'd like to thank every single person for making today successful, even with the mishaps at the start. But guess what? It doesn't make any difference because we're through the first one. We know how it works and can't wait to see everyone 1 o'clock next week. Put your comments, put your likes, put your shares. And my name's Wes York. If you need to find any more information about us, go to wesyorksales.com and this will be uploaded to YouTube, like I said, iTunes over the next few days. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 1 p.m.